Hi everyone, welcome to the 5th episode of Good Happens Here, the TrueNorth podcast where we take a deep dive into topics that we hope you'll care as much about as we do. I'm Chris Keebler, your host. Today we'll be talking about summer programming for youth. But before we get into that, a quick reminder. The audio-only versions of our podcasts are available on all major podcast host sites, but only for 90 days after they initially post. After 90 days, they're only available in the video version on the TrueNorth YouTube channel. There is a Good Happens Here playlist available there with all episodes. So, if you haven't listened to any of the earlier episodes and you really prefer the audio-only versions, you better get on it soon. This episode is brought to you in part by North Point Gymnastics. Located in Fremont, North Point Gymnastics offers programming for kids of all ages and skill levels. From parent-taught classes starting as young as 18 months to preschool programs like Tumble Cats and Tumble Bears, they focus on building motor skills, coordination, and confidence early on. As kids grow, North Point offers recreational gymnastics, ninja-style classes, and competitive team opportunities through USA Gymnastics Pathways. Their facility includes high-level training equipment, creating a space where beginners and advanced athletes can train safely and progress their skills. They also host camps, field trips, and special events throughout the year, making them a hub for active skill-building experiences in the Fremont community. North Point Gymnastics, check them out. I grew up in a rural area of western New York, about 45 minutes from Buffalo. When I was a kid, summer break was the bomb. The thought of no school for almost 3 months was the absolute greatest thing ever. The fact of the matter was, though, after a couple of weeks with no structure and nothing much to do, I was bored to tears. Thankfully, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so my sisters and I weren't left to fend for ourselves. That said, there weren't a lot of options as far as stuff to do. I always found it very hard to get back up to speed also when school started back up in the fall. Today, with roughly half of all Michigan households having both parents who work, having somewhere safe for kids to go and something meaningful to do over the summer is more important than ever. Joining me today are TrueNorth's Youth Development and Education Director, Danielle Lewandowski, and Camp Newaygo Director, Jaleesa Danoff. Jaleesa on the outside, Danielle in the middle. So, just to give our listeners a bit of background, Danielle, what programs do you run or are in charge of?
Yeah, so I provide leadership for our out-of-school time programs and True Mentors programming. So that consists of after-school and summer programs, Project Focus, Summer Blast, and then True Mentors, which is our youth mentorship arm.
All right, people, we call them after-school time programs, and a lot of people just refer to them as after-school programs, just so people know what we're talking about. And Jaleesa, give us a short snapshot of what Camp Newaygo is and does. You're the director, but what's the short answer of what is Camp Newaygo?
The short answer is that we're a part of TrueNorth Community Services. So we're one of their departments. We turn 100 this year as a summer camp. We've been an all-girls overnight summer camp since 1926. But we're open year-round. We're not just a summer camp. We have co-ed day camp programs. We do community events, rentals, caterings, weddings. And we've got a beautiful 102 acres right on Pickerel Lake.
All right. So girls overnight camp is your kind of like your bread and butter, your mainstay. That's the oldest program. Also community programs and then co-ed day camp.
Yep.
We'll talk more a bit, but okay, that gives everyone kind of an idea who you are and why we're talking about summer youth programming. So I was talking in the intro about how much I loved summer break when I was a kid. And it was like, you looked forward to it so much, and then how quickly I got bored. And I grew up in a rural area, kind of like Newaygo County. It's very rural, in fact, very similar in a lot of ways to the area I grew up in. And again, just how quickly I ended up being bored to tears, especially living in a rural area. Mm-hmm. So I also remember how hard it was for me to get back up to speed back at school. I wasn't the best student in the world, only because I was a squirrely kid. And so having all that time off and then trying to get back up and geared up for school. So we're going to talk about this thing called summer brain drain. What is it, what causes it, and what can parents do about it? Who has a good definition of what summer brain drain is? That's the term, right?
Yeah.
That's the term. Summer learning loss.
Summer learning
also
loss.
Or summer slide.
Summer slide.
Yeah, a lot of names for it. But
I'm not making it up.
No, it's real.
Thing. Okay.
No, it's this proven fact that youth over the summer who are not participating in some sort of structured youth program are not making gains in education and sometimes even falling behind. They're losing some of what they learned in their previous school year.
Okay.
And that's academically, right? So it's
Right.
and I think it's even shown across conferences. There's an expectation of when kids leave school in the spring, get ready, because when they come back in the fall, they might not be at the same state of academic performance of once they left this
Right.
school system.
I know, again, speaking from experience, I know I felt it as a kid always. In fact, all the way through high school and everything, I always felt that I'm like, why is it so hard to get back into this? I thought because I just hated school, but I think part of it was, are there stats to like actually back this up? Anyone have? Do we bring anything like actual that will sound more respectable than me going, well, I felt it.
Well, everyone feels it, but yes, there are. There was a nationwide study that was done a couple of years ago of teachers, and 9 out of 10 teachers nationwide reported they spend the full first month back to school in the fall,
Just getting
over 3 weeks, just going over things they already went over. Yep. So things the
Remember we
students
did
had learned the previous
multiplications
year.
last year, and then when I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will say across different identifiers, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status or racial identifiers, that this is a trend across the United States. So it's not specific to any geographic area. It happens in cities, it happens in rural counties. This is just, the difference of not having regular structured instructional time with their peers. There's an effect that comes from that.
It's just a human issue, a human child issue.
Yeah.
Apart from summer brain drain, or whatever we're going to call it, apart from that and learning loss, what are some other negative consequences of kids having a whole summer off?
Something that comes to mind right away is the loss of the structure. So you go back to school in the fall and you're expected to just reacclimate into this structured
sit in your
school
row
day.
and listen to an adult
Right.
talk. Yes.
When all summer long, if you're not participating in some sort of structured program, you've been doing your thing, right? And that might mean sitting on the couch day in, day out with a screen, which we know there are tons of studies about the sort of negative effects of all that screen time, which can take place regularly over the summer. Social skills and your social circles that you're not connecting with and interacting with youth and positive adult role models.
Anything else?
I think there's increased anxiety with kids coming out of the summer, which comes from an increase in social isolation. You talked about how bored you got as a kid, and I think especially in rural communities, we're not in West Michigan where we're located. You can't walk in a lot of places to activity, in the rural communities that we're in. And so there's this sense of boredom and, I'm just by myself.
Yeah.
And then they go back to school in the fall and they forget how to have a conversation with another person because any of their conversations have been just through playing video games or on the computer or via text. And it's much harder to coordinate play dates and hanging out with friends when transportation is a barrier.
Yep.
And we've got working parents. And so I think, going back to school, being surrounded by so many people all of a sudden can be a little bit jarring for kids and surprising, being in a cafeteria setting because they've just been at home with their family all summer long.
Yeah. I know that growing up, none of my friends lived close enough to walk or even ride my bike to. But if I wanted to see one of my friends from school that was my age, it had to be mom's coordinating. Can you drive me over to Ricky's house? Ricky Spencer, if you listen and shout out, my best bud. But nobody else lived close enough, and I think that's pretty common in a rural area.
Yeah.
So another very real issue with kids in the summer, particularly with so many families having both parents working, is childcare and the cost and availability. Do either of you have any figures on the average childcare cost these days?
We both have personal figures that are frightening.
You want to share this information?
I will say Danielle and I are both moms, so we talked about this as, you talk about food deserts where it's hard to find food. We definitely live in Newaygo County in a childcare desert. And my daycare was the second person in the world to know of my first pregnancy. My husband was the first, and then the second call was to the owner of daycare.
Yeah.
Before your parents,
mother-in-law, before anybody else. And that's how early I needed to get on the waiting list to be able to go back to work in time. And that's even more difficult when you're not looking for year-round childcare. When you're looking for just summer childcare, and it's especially difficult to get full day, summer childcare. That's really, really challenging. But to leave kids at home alone or try to say, I'm going to work from home and the kids will just be in the background, what ends up happening as a parent is you put on a TV show or a movie or a screen in order to get focused work done, because otherwise it's not safe to leave them to their own devices, right? You hear as a parent, like, if it's too quiet, it's not good. So you never want it to be too quiet in your household. And I would say from the parents that I work with, they are so stressed about summer and the amount of spreadsheets that goes into figuring out what am I going to do as soon as school is out is incredibly stressful.
So I know it's expensive, and I didn't even realize how big an issue it was, the unavailability of childcare. So
Let me throw you some numbers.
yeah, that's what I'm like, I don't want to scare people. What does it
But it is
actually
scary.
cost?
It's terrifying.
So for parents of one child between the ages of 0 to 5, the average cost of childcare is $15,000 a year for one singular child. So
Steven's over there nodding his head.
I have twins.
Yeah. How many do you have, Steven?
3.
You have 3. You have twins.
I have
You've got
twins.
2.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for one child, you're looking at $15,000 per year, and that's cost alone. Then when you factor in the number of slots available, so in Michigan as a state, there's a 30% gap in the number of slots needed versus those that are available.
That's insane. Now, I'm assuming it's not double for 2 kids, or is it double?
Oh,
for
it
2?
is.
Yeah.
Oh
there's,
my gosh.
There's a sibling discount.
Yeah.
At
There's no
daycare.
okay.
Sometimes there is, but because the slots
minimal.
are so limited, there's no discount
So
needed.
$30,000 for 2
Oh, I
kids.
paid more than that last year in the calendar year of
You work
2025.
at a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my
I'm
husband
not laughing
does not.
because I'm laughing because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I have known people that have worked. I've known people who worked at nonprofits locally. I'm not going to say they worked here, but worked at nonprofits local. Who once they got past one kid, decided it was
Financially,
more effective,
yeah.
cost effective to stay home rather than work.
100%.
It's a conversation you have to have. You know, what
Yeah.
makes sense for individual families.
So but some are alone. What's an idea of what it costs for summer child daycare? It's not
Half that cost,
Yeah.
probably,
You think it's
is
oh
my
my
guess.
gosh,
Yeah,
okay.
because that demand for summer care goes
It's
up.
even greater.
You know,
Okay.
because then you have all the school-age children who are competing for those slots
Oh
with
my
those that
goodness.
are 0 to
Didn't
5.
think about that. Yep.
And you have all these other costs outside of the cost of the slot itself. You know, so for example, we pay $10 a minute that we're late to pick up our child. We pay for days that our child is not in care. You pay for days your child is sick.
He was just nodding his
You know,
head. He knows. It's like,
and
yep,
and
yep.
we obviously very much support the childcare industry,
Yes.
right? Right. These
incredible.
folks also need to make a livable wage
Thank
and are
goodness
doing
for
very
supporting
good work.
working parents.
Yes.
Safe place for our
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Big fans. Yes.
And they say it costs the state of Michigan, so the lack of childcare and parents withdrawing from the workforce to then take care of their children, costs the state of Michigan $4 billion a year in productivity.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's a serious issue.
It's a big
Serious
That's
issue,
an
yeah.
understatement of the day.
Just a reminder, today's podcast is sponsored by North Point Gymnastics. With classes ranging from toddler movement programs to advanced team training and summer camps, North Point is a place where kids build strength, coordination, and discipline in a structured, positive environment. If you're looking for opportunities to keep kids active and learning year-round, North Point Gymnastics offers a wide range of options to get them moving and growing. My own kids have been part of North Point's parent-taught classes for years, and my daughter just started independent classes. Their staff team is incredible, and the facility is such an asset for families across Newaygo County.
What are some of the benefits of structured summer activity, quote unquote structured summer activity? What good to kids get from that?
I mean, we talked about summer brain drain and learning loss, the summer slide. This past year at winter conferences with my son, we were looking at his academic goals, and my son went to day camp at Camp Newaygo for 9 weeks last summer. And his teacher said, this is very strange, looking at his chart. And
When
they
you
said-
started school in the fall?
Yes,
Yeah.
and they said he had more growth over the summer schedule than he did over the entire fall semester at school. They said,
awesome.
what did you do over the summer? Were you in some kind of insane academic tutoring
Yeah.
program? And I said, nope, he was at co-ed day camp at Camp Newaygo down the road. They said, wow, you should really promote this.
We do.
I said, we do, because I'm like, it doesn't have to be academically focused instruction to see the positivity, because when they're in a structured environment with safe mentors, you know, when they're have expectation put on them, when they're allowed to have creative play and take safe risks, all of those benefits are hard to isolate as an outcome. You know, it's all wrapped into the betterment of the child.
So I think your son Calvin and I are maybe a little bit alike. I've met Calvin, and so I'm like, oh, I think maybe I was a little bit like Calvin. And maybe the kind of unstructured learning, structured, unstructured learning, it's not classroom learning.
Right.
worked much better for him as it did for me as well.
Yeah.
So school I really struggled with because I'm just not a structure. Sitting in rows and being quiet. Boy, I couldn't do that. But something like just fun learning.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's the kind of thing. So I would have been just like that.
Yeah, we call it disguised learning.
Yes.
Yeah, sneaky learning, disguised learning.
What are some other benefits of structured summer activities?
Yeah, I think Jaleesa touched on this, but those positive adult role models. You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're with other youth who are engaged and having fun and participating, but you're also with positive
Particularly
adults.
important for parents who work.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
saying to parent, if you're able to be home with your kids, they're getting an
Great,
adult
yeah.
role model. That's great. But if you're not,
Yeah.
they're home with who?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Harvard did a study years ago where they said what made or break a Harvard grad, and they took a long-term longevity study and they found that having that positive role model beyond the parent household consistently made such a huge difference in lifetime success. And so giving children access to those positive role models,
Right.
particularly those that take an interest in the kid, is huge.
Yep. I know I did. I interviewed a couple parents, one in particular, whose kids attended. I think they attended both Summer Blast and Camp Nuevo, if I'm
great.
remembering right.
Yeah.
And he was like, he kept going on and on about how much his kids benefited, but it was things that we were talking about. It was staying socially connected, not losing anything from school. When they went back to school, they were right there, ready to go. And so this isn't just us talking. I talked to parents. Again, I have an interview that out there. People can look it up on our YouTube page. It's there. You can find it.
Yeah.
Of a parent saying this exact same thing.
And whether it's disguised learning or like direct instruction, they're still hearing maybe those vocabulary words that they learned in the school year prior. They're hearing those over the summer from the adults in their life and at camp and in our programs. And they're using some of those same skills in that disguised learning. If we're doing a cooking lesson, we're talking about fractions and measurements and sneaking all those things in. So they're practicing all those academic skills in a fun way.
Yeah, we're going to talk a bit about our specific programming that we do, but before I get to that, which I think is our next question, I just want to touch on the importance, and I don't know if anyone's actually talked about this, but the social connection of staying connected to their peers and their friends and making new, because often when you're at school, you're seeing the same kids. Maybe you go to camp or to Summer Blast or focus summer programming, you may end up seeing kids from other areas that you don't know. Oh, you live in Grant, I live in Newaygo. Ooh, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But just that social interaction, how important that is to stay socially connected over the summer.
Yeah, I think Jaleesa should answer this. Camp has such a cool way of bringing together folks from different cultures and countries.
All over
and
I think, the studies they've done now, especially post-COVID, kids are more isolated than ever.
Yeah.
And kids struggle to make friends more than ever. And I think what's nice about camp is it brings together kids from so many different school districts and, different walks of life and different ages, different countries. We have camp counselors from all over the world. And so I think to meet someone who is similar than you, to meet someone who's very different than you, but we have a very structured format at camp where we teach people how to make friends. We try to really manufacture friendship in a very step-by-step pragmatic way of step 1, proximity.
Right.
Step 2, use names. Step 3, ask questions. Listen, all those little pieces of how to make a friend. And it actually works. And so you can kind of hack the friendship test. And we teach kids how to do that. And our sole goal is that they're leaving with a friend. And that's huge. I mean, the stats on the loneliness epidemic and how that's more dangerous for you now than smoking cigarettes, right? In a lifetime of health benefits. And so how scary that can be for kids, and how when they do feel connected to someone else, how much better they do for the rest of their lives.
And where else are you taught how to make friends? Like you said, how do we even interact with one another in today's world?
Right.
Certainly not like this,
Not often enough, right?
Right, and not often enough. And you're not just going to meet someone in the grocery store anymore. We're on the playground randomly. So in these safe settings and actually intentionally teaching kids how to introduce themselves to someone and listen to what they're saying their likes and dislikes are and making those friends is so cool.
And I think culturally too, even now kids on the playground introduce themselves to each other differently than they did when I was a kid. There's this sense of who do I not know, and is it okay to approach them, and how do I approach someone I don't know?
Yeah.
And kids just have a challenge saying hi to a new friend. There's so much more social anxiety now because of after effects of the pandemic, because of screen time, because of the nature of how our world has worked.
The level of anxiety amongst youth is through the roof.
I have to take your word at that, and I see it a little bit with grandkids, but it's so different. I mean, when I was a kid, you know, you'd walk up to another kid.
Hey, dude.
You got a Bills
play?
jersey on.
Yeah.
You look like the Bills. Woo! We're
Yeah.
best friends. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't much. It's just.
You want to go climb that tree? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much harder. It really
It's
is,
really
and I
hard.
see it.
Yeah.
Let's talk. What kind of summer programs does True North offer? Let's start with Project Focus.
Sure.
And
So we have Project Focused and Summer Blast in the out of school time world, which, as you mentioned, is just a fancy way to say not during school, right? So we operate after school during the school year and then in the summer. So I'm going to rattle off some locations
Yep.
for you. So Project Focus runs in Baldwin, Hart, Hesperia, Holton, Walkerville, and Muskegon Heights. Yep. And Summer Blast runs in Grant, Newaygo, Fremont, and Mason County Eastern. And I actually forgot Pentwater is now operating a
New one,
Project
yep,
Focus
yep.
site. Yep.
Don't you have one way up north? too?
Mason County Eastern.
That's okay.
Yep. So they're a summer-only Summer Blast location. So they just have those separate names, Project Focus and Summer Blast, because they're a couple different funding streams.
Right.
But really, in the summer, they operate 5 to 6 hour daily programs. So they're Monday through Thursday. Summer Blast is from 11:30 to 5:30. Project Focus is from either 8 to 2 or 9 to 3, depending on the district. And they focus on a lot of what we've been talking about, this concept of disguised learning. So they're doing arts and crafts, and they're playing basketball, and they're going on field trips to the zoo and to local camps. and
Regular
to-
field trips.
Yeah,
every
once a
week.
week. Yeah, every Thursday they're going somewhere cool. So part of that is exposing youth to experiences they wouldn't normally have.
Yep.
You know, some of these rural areas we operate in are of lower income. You know, you interviewed that grandmother recently who was so thankful that we,
Oh, yeah.
you know, her kids during Summer Blast got to go to these places that she could never dream of taking them, you know, which is huge.
Cool places to go, but like from a lot of families, I just can't afford to go
Right.
to the museum or to the zoo. That costs money to get in those places,
Right. This summer they're planning to go to Chicago and Mackinac Island and Legoland in Detroit.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're taking 30 kids at a time to these cool wonderlands. So a lot of that, and generally they serve kindergarten through 9th grade. That varies a little bit by
Site to site,
location, but
location.
yep, elementary and middle school typically.
When's the program's running? Like roughly?
June and July.
Okay.
Yep, so they typically start the week after school gets out and they run for 6 weeks. They end the last week of July. Some of them are off the week of 4th of July, so the week of June 29th.
Sure.
Others work right through, but
Right.
yeah.
And then summer camp, again, bread and butter is the girls' resident camp. What age group is girls' resident camp?
Girls Overnight Camp is age
Overnight camp,
7 to
right.
17. And we
7
have
to 17.
7 to 17. We have many week sessions that are just 4 days, 3 nights. We have week-long sessions, and some campers come for all 7 weeks of overnight camp.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of what you picture in the movies. When you see a summer camp in the movies, you're like, oh, Parent Trap, and it's on a lake, and it's very picturesque. It looks a lot like that, and we're one of the oldest camps in the United States.
100 years this year.
100 years old. We're very well respected. It's an incredible program. We hire about 95 seasonal staff in the summer who live right in the cabins with the campers, who kind of operate as a family group throughout the week. They eat their meals together. But what I love about it is there's so much camper choice. And we have activities that you really only do at summer camp. I've never been somewhere else that does like windsurfing and fencing and ceramics, kind of these lost arts of where else do you learn to canoe on a river anymore? Like, you just don't do that in school. And so it's these really beautiful kind of lost art pieces, and it just builds this sense of like a love of the outdoors and a comfortability in being in the outdoors, which I think kids, if your parents don't love the outdoors, you might not have that opportunity, and not every family likes to go camping. I totally get it. And so it's a really unique place. We have the beautiful waterfront locations. We have tons of waterfront activities, incredible ropes course. And so the girls' camp is overnight. So you drop off on like a Sunday, and you're picking up on a Saturday. It's like you're packing all your stuff, you're sleeping overnight in this space, all your meals are provided, and then simultaneously also on this site, but operating independently of the girls' overnight camp, is a 9-week-long co-ed day camp. And some families,
It's part of the grounds, but it's kind of off the campus.
Yes.
So the girls who are at their overnight camps aren't going to see little boys
ships
running around.
passing in the night.
Right,
Yeah, you see them
Yes.
off in the distance. And some families come for 1 week of co-ed day camp. Some families come for 2, and they split around vacation. We've got some families that use it as their summer childcare because it operates almost the entirety of the summer break, and they are full days. Drop off in the morning is 7:45 and pickup is 5:15. So
And
the
they
kids
can drop off at camp.
they drop off at camp or here at the Service Center in Fremont at TrueNorth. They pack a lunch, and all day we are outdoors. We've got rainy day spaces if needed, but otherwise we are zip lining, we are fishing, we are kayaking, we're doing tie-dye. It is very immersive, very, very fun, and just to see kids be kids, to see them throw a paint-covered marshmallow in a field and then jump in a lake to wash off. I'm like, this is the epitome of childhood.
I know, and those are youth programming. We also have like some mom and me and dad and me camps and that kind of things, which I mean,
Yeah.
would you call those programming for kids?
They are, yeah. We've
Okay.
got family camps where you can come together. So for our, even infants, we've got families that come with kids in pack and plays, goes up to age 12 for our mom and me's and family camps, and those start on the weekends in end of May.
Okay.
And so it's a one night overnight. It's a great way to kind of come to camp together with your kids. And then we run community events throughout the year, which are kind of a small entry fee of $9, where you come in and get to do the camp activities as a couple of hours as a family to get introduced to the space and the site and the staff.
Girls who come to overnight camp, they're getting all their meals all day. Day camp, it's a pack your own lunch.
Yep.
Okay. And what about Summer Blast? How do meals work?
Summer Blast, meals are included, lunch and a snack, breakfast at some locations that start earlier. The program is all free, transportation is provided
Okay.
by the school district. Yeah, all inclusive.
So I'll ask this then, and we'll put information on screen, but we'll also say it for those that are listening. What's the best way to find out information about either Focus or Focus Rural Grit Summer Programming
Yeah.
or Summer Blast?
Yeah. So we're also enrolling. I should mention
Yeah.
that. So Project Focus during the school year accepts applications kind of all year round. Shouldn't call it an application. Everybody's welcome, but a registration process is available all year round. And then we'll start registering for all of our summer programs next Monday. So the very beginning of May, applications can be picked up at all the local school districts that we offer programming
mentioned
at.
earlier, yep,
Yep.
okay.
Or right here at True North.
They can also, are they available on our website or not?
For certain districts, they are. Yep.
Okay.
So it just depends on the district. If their summer school application is already online, we kind of tack right onto that.
So
it just
it's
depends.
Focus Summer Programming and or Summer Blast.
Yep.
And for camp, to overnight camp or day camp, what's the best way to find out information or get registered? Or
campnewaygo.org.
Okay.
So that's our website. You can register. We have so many scholarships available, especially for the day camp program. So for families who live inside Newaygo County, I would say 90% of families are qualified for a free week of co-ed summer day camp.
Okay.
And so that's funded through generous grants that we write and scholarship donors. You would pay nothing, including the cost of transportation from TrueNorth, which is incredible. So please get a hold of us. We don't want cost to be a barrier. And for the girls' overnight camp, we still do have scholarships available. We have limited spaces available in that girls' overnight camp. It does fill.
Yeah.
And so
that opens like on
December 6th, yeah.
At midnight,
Right.
people
Yes.
start signing
There's
their kids up.
people are ready to go, refreshing the page. So we do still have spaces for that camp the beginning of the summer. So we've got spaces in June for girls overnight camp, which is great early sessions for first-time families. So definitely don't wait to register for the programs. And then we've got families that come to both. They come for a week of co-ed day camp, and then their daughter also does a week of overnight camp. That's great.
So there may be space available, but get online.
campnewaygo.org.
We'll also put the phone number up if someone has questions. It's 231-652-1184 is camp. The number at True North is 231-924-0641. Should they talk to you, or do we have someone that's kind of in charge of summer programming they should talk to if they call?
Yeah, let's talk to me. And if I can't answer your question, I will point you in the right
All
direction.
right, so if you call, again, we'll have the number on the screen with the extensions and everything, but if you're listening, Camp Newaygo 231-652-1184 and True North 231-924-0641, your extension is
109.
109. Do you want me to put email addresses up or not?
That's great.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
We'll put email addresses on screen. It is jalisa@campnewaygo.org. That's JALISA at camp, CIMP, Newaygo, NEWAYGO.org. Okay, this is good. I'm going to get this right.
Let's see.
DLEVANDOSKI
Yep.
at True, TRUE, North, NORTH, Services, SCRBICES.org. So
Nailed
those
it.
those are the emails. If you're listening, they'll be on screen if you're watching. All right. Well, thank you both for being here today. Thanks for listening and or watching to our 5th episode. If you want more information about Project Focus summer programs, Summer Blast, or any of the summer programs being offered at Camp Nuevo, we encourage you to reach out to either Danielle or Jaleesa, and I'll put their contact info on screen, like I said. For those of you listening, I'm not going to do it again. I said it all already. We got to thank Steven, our audio engineer behind the scenes for the podcast. We got it down to a science. And lastly, if your business or organization, or even you personally, would like to sponsor a future episode of Good Happens Here, please reach out to me here at TrueNorth at 231-924-0641, extension 113, or via email at ckuebler@truenorthservices.org. That's ckeebler at truenorthservices.org. That's it. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for our sponsors for this episode, which was North Point Gymnastics. And thank you to all of you for making good happen here.
We'll see you this summer.
All right, that wasn't too much of a train.